The battle for the ownership of your games is a never-ending push to ensure that everyone that is watching and beyond can have more control over the things that you love and that you buy too. Look, I think the entire point of something like a Stop Killing Games is needed more than ever, even if the games these companies push onto us all want to even have less control than we already have on them. But now, there's been two very big updates and then some smaller ones, so let's get into it. Firstly, Stop Killing Games just won big time, and it's pretty glorious, okay? So this is from TechSpot. It's been confirmed that Stop Killing Games will now be officially backing a new Californian-based act that is being pushed back hard against the moronic "you will own nothing" narrative that these game companies are, well, trying to actualize all the time. So what happened now? Well, there's a guy named Chris Ward. He's a part of the California State Assembly since around 2020. Before any of this really went down, there actually weren't, well, any laws in place to stop this sort of thing, which is why you saw so many games coming out. They would get delisted, and then companies could just steal your money and then run for the hills. So this new bill, which is being pushed, it's called AB 1921, has a few demands that are, well, being pushed into reality. Firstly, AB 1921 would require all companies that sell live service games to send notifications to their users who play these games. Think Highguard is a good example of this, of when that game will be having its end of support happen, which, yeah, that seems reasonable. That's then the next part, where this same bill would then force American-based companies here, which is a lot of big companies, as you know, to make actual tangible commitments to allow for long-term support when it comes to server-connected video games as well. This is just another way of saying that games that require the internet to function, which in today's age is, well, a lot of them. So AB 1921 would now make this mandatory, meaning that any game that is going to be taken offline in the future will have to have a backup solution to ensure that the game is still playable to some capacity for whoever, right, is paying for the game or wants to play it still. And another demand of this bill is that companies would not be able to sell their games that they have already planned to take offline within 2 months of that end of service date, which has to be publicly disclosed to everyone. This means for games like, let's say, New World from Amazon, because that's a really good example of this. If you remember, that's an MMO that had all of these players. Then Amazon announced that New World was going to go offline forever in 2027. But they also conveniently hid this information from their players and began pulling pro-consumer moves out of nowhere to just ensure that people would still buy into the game. Amazon, for example, gave away a free expansion for New World, and that built a lot of goodwill. So people likely bought the game to try out the new expansion, right? They bought some cosmetics from the store as a thank you, but Amazon knew all along that the game was going to go offline in a years anyway, so they just did this to, I guess, make as much money as possible. So the free expansion wasn't really free in New World, right? It was a lure on a fishing rod to just get more people to bite, so they could just, make more before the lights got turned off. Well, under this new bill anyways, which would affect Amazon, obviously, because they are an American-based company. New World would now not be erased, pretty much, come January 2027 as initially intended. Well, hopefully anyways. Instead, it could go offline, sure, but the game would then need to legally allow the game to be played by users, even if it meant turning the game into like a single-player standalone game instead. Which personally, if Amazon actually wanted to make some good money off of New World, they should actually take that game. All of its content, its expansions, whatever, remove the live service elements entirely, include all the cosmetics that were in that store as unlockables in the game for the players to use, and they could just release New World as a standalone single-player RPG game that people can play and explore whenever they want to. And it would also be, in theory, bursting with content like crazy, given that, well, yeah, it was an MMO before, obviously. That would not only be a win for the consumers who bought New World, because, well, they get to keep playing the game that they love, which is great, but it would actually also open New World to a, pun intended, new audience that Amazon can then explore possibly turning New World into a, single-player franchise instead of being an MMO one. It would just be a big positive all around. Amazon gets their good PR, New World fans get what they want too, and you get to sell the game with all this content back to people as a standalone premium release, which will just, make you more money. I actually hope that more failed MMOs or gacha games, free to play, whatever, do the same actually too, because these games usually usually have so much content, so why just go offline? Why not make it all into a premium game where the content is already made because you guys, made it already? Is it not better to make money off of that than to just shut it all down, put all that content in some digital vault, throw the key away, and then start over on something new? Sounds kind of crazy to me, actually. Also, just a massive waste of talent and resources too. But due to the nature of this bill, currently, it would only be able to work on newly released games and not games that are in backlogs already, as seen here. It would mean that if this bill were to pass, that any game released January 2027 and beyond would be affected by this change. Does that mean if you bought games that are older after that date, would that then affect them, but people that bought the game before wouldn't? You see where this kind of gets muddy a little bit, but still. My hope is that they can further cast the net wider so that even older games are affected by this too. But the other component of this bill is that if for whatever reason a game company can't meet any of the requirements detailed in this bill, that they would have to, by law, be forced to fully refund the game and give the money spent by the user on that product back to them, no matter how many hours they spent in it or anything else, which that point for sure, that's going to anger a lot of game publishers because they would then get nothing out of this in the end. They would have just wasted their money pretty much. Gee, it's almost as if you shouldn't be making the sort of games that can just, up and disappear one day, out of nowhere. Now, should you guys? Maybe. I don't know. You should make games that don't need 1 million people playing it constantly every single day, or it'll just shut down and explode. But that's kind of the entire point of this, isn't it? It's sort of like how you see people online obsessing about the Steam player charts of whatever game, and people go, why do people care about the player numbers so much? Because, well, they do matter. Unfortunately, they matter a whole lot more than you think, because before, if a game came out, not many would play it. But it would still be fine for you because you could still play it and enjoy it whenever you wanted to. But now if some online game doesn't have a thriving community 24/7, well then nobody gets to play it. That's kind of messed up, isn't it? Why do you think so many people are obsessed with Marathon Steam charts still? Is it partly to be annoying and make fun of Marathon and Bungie? I mean, sure, yes. But is it also because Marathon's longevity and your access to even being able to play that game is dependent on whether there is enough of a community to keep the lights on in the first place? Yeah, and let's be real, that's not good, is it? It's just, that's like a very backwards, almost insane way of making games and development and all of that. But that is what AAA is these days, and because of that greed, you then become the scapegoat and the one who gets taken advantage of. Because you can't even play the game now, and that's messed up. It's awful, actually, and it's why I'm also against this sort of thing. And also why Stop Killing Games needs to succeed the way that it is right now. There are some loopholes in this bill, AB 1921, however. For one, this bill excludes games that are subscription-based or free-to-play, which means it still allows the companies out here to, well, get away with a lot of things. Stop Killing Games did, however, show support for this bill by Chris Ward. It originated from this Reddit post, as you can see here on screen. But then when you scroll down, as I can highlight right there, yeah, Stop Killing Games is aware of Chris Ward's bill, and they fully support and are aligned with him. So this is yet another potentially big nuke of a bill that could force companies into compliance with what Stop Killing Games is standing for. It has holes, I admit. Again, it doesn't affect free-to-play, which is obviously something I do think they need to rectify, because that's a lot of games. Because free-to-play games, as you all know, they are big money makers too. And just because it costs nothing to play them, it doesn't mean that there aren't people out here spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on those sorts of games when they play them too. Just look at any game, right? With gacha elements, character packs, that sort of thing, they should be able to get away with what they do simply because they're free to play? I don't know about that one, guys. There is an online version of this bill that you can view yourselves, by the way. Here's part of it on screen, but I will be putting the entire thing in the description box, so if you want to look at it yourselves, please just go right ahead. But it details fully all the demands and more surrounding this bill AB 1921. Again, this would only affect American bought games and companies, but given how much influence American companies have on entertainment, yeah, this still makes this insanely relevant and noteworthy, I think you'll agree. Because usually whatever affects America affects the rest of the world, and that is just real for not just games, but like everything. But okay, now let's move on to the second big story, which is honestly more of a victory lap than anything else. So if you remember, or maybe you don't, this whole stop killing games thing began because Ubisoft decided to, well, screw over people when it came to The Crew. The Crew, if you don't know, that's a racing game which is open world, and randomly one day Ubisoft just announced that The Crew would be taken offline, and anybody who bought the game would not have access to it anymore, despite having, bought it themselves. This angered a lot of people, because it meant that not only was a digital game going to be delisted, but that even if you had the physical disc, that was going to be useless too. It also meant that anyone who bought The Crew or saw it on a store shelf were technically being sold at that moment a paperweight disc that, well, has nothing on it because you can't play it. So naturally, that story blew up, and of course, Stop Killing Games was then brought into existence because of it, but okay, what happened now, you're probably asking? Well, Ubisoft has given in, officially, and well, it proves that we actually do have the power to change things if we just try. As seen here from Eurogamer, well, would you look at that? They added a new mode to The Crew 2. Wow, I thought that was apparently impossible to do so, but now The Crew 2 also has what's called hybrid mode, as you can see in here, confirmed by The Crew themselves. You've spoken, and we've listened to the improvements you've been asking for. With the help of your feedback, the new mode is here. Nice, I love to see that. So this newest update to the hybrid mode allows Crew players to add their customized cars to now be used within an offline setting, which is huge because this was originally only something that Ubisoft allowed users to do when they were playing online. And in a game all about, racing and car customization, you can see why this is important to have made available. Ubisoft provided proof too, as you can see there, and yeah, you can save these now. That's great to see. And now everybody can just enjoy The Crew 2 however they want to. Ubisoft gets to keep their money, and everybody gets to enjoy what they paid for. How is this not something that the games industry does not want more of? You see how it takes a little bit of effort, I know, sure, but the payoff is worth it. The people are happy. That's worth doing it. And I love seeing something positive like this coming alive. We need more of this. Obviously, as of this video being made anyways, this is not available yet for The Crew 1, which kind of started all of this. But Ubisoft should probably make that a priority, but people in the comments are still not convinced. As seen here in the comment section of that post, people are saying that Ubisoft is only doing this because of Stop Killing Games. Which, I mean, yeah, you're right, absolutely. Ubisoft would not have done any of this if it weren't for that movement, you're right. But I do think it's also important to focus on the positive parts here regardless. We got what we wanted, mostly, sort of, I guess. But it at least shows that if we do come together, we can stand up to these big scary companies and we can will the right things into existence. So sure, I know, give them criticism, but I think we should celebrate this either way. It is a big win. The thing is that the reason why these stories are important is because with each win, we are gaining ground, but also we're getting closer to the future of we will finally own what we have bought. And that these companies can't just steal them from us whenever they want to anymore. In a weird way, it's sort of like a loop completing itself. Games used to be owned by you when you bought them until they weren't, right? Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64, whatever. You own those games when you bought them. And now, hopefully, that'll be the case once again. It is sort of crazy how we had to go through so much to just, I guess, kind of reach the same state we were in before when all this went down, right? Kind of weird, but it is what it is. But it is sort of insane to think that that's pretty much what has gone down. But hey, I think that's good either way. And the way this is all happening in the wake of PlayStation's viral DRM story, if you don't remember that one, which Ross Scott, the creator of Stop Killing Games, has reported on himself as seen here, that is not lost on anyone either. The fact that these companies will do everything in their power to not meet you halfway, but instead tear as much as they can away from you, that is what worries many greatly. Because we gain nothing from this. Companies might think it will help them, but it really won't either, because people will just start refusing to buy games on PlayStation due to that DRM policy. Even if Sony did confirm recently that the DRM problem is not as bad as others claimed recently too. As GameSpot reported, as you can see, PlayStation finally responded to the controversial DRM checks that had people potentially boycotting their platform. Here's what Sony told GameSpot. Players can continue to access and play their purchased games as usual. A one-time online check is required to confirm the game's license, after which no further check-ins are required. So this has quelled fears. But there are still many out there that are still mad that a check at all needs to happen. Either way, it is good on Sony at least to just, have some transparency for once, but maybe don't take multiple days. To allow such a big problem like this to fester the way that it has without addressing it first, like right away, maybe just a thought, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy that it took them that long when literally everybody was talking about this. But for Sony, it does get worse, because as Insider Gaming reported here, players might also be getting refunds following a lawsuit now. So the reason for this, as said here, the Northern District of California recently approved this preliminary settlement against Sony. The class action lawsuit filed in 2023 accuses Sony of monopolizing the market by restricting third-party games on their platform. Insider Gaming then said more. As part of the settlement, Sony is required to pay approximately $7.8 million to all in the United States who purchased specific digital games through the PlayStation Network between April 1st, 2019 and December 31st, 2023. The settlement was officially approved on April 8th. So specific games that are affected by this reimbursement are WWE 2K17, 2K18, 2K19, No Man's Sky, Super Mega Baseball, The Last of Us Remastered, Until Dawn, NBA 2K18, 2K19, the Mass Effect Trilogy, Madden NFL 17. There's even more games, as you can see here, from God Eater Resurrection, the Jack Party box games, whatever they're called, Limbo, The Witness, Okami HD, and so many more. Again, I'm going to leave a link to the full list in the description box because there's just way too many to list, but it's a lot of games. However, one of the games on that list is Battlefield Hardline, which is actually interesting because that game is also, if you don't know, going offline soon as well. So Battlefield Hardline, as seen here from Tweaktown, will be delisted on Xbox and PlayStation soon in May. So anybody who bought that game will never be able to play it unless they, I guess, keep it downloaded on their console. But when it comes to online functionality, that will also be taken away too. The game will remain indefinitely on PC at least. But again, this is why Stop Killing Games is important, because there you go, another example, another game you lost access to even if you paid money for it. As Tweaktown says there, Hardline will be sold at $40 USD now while having the option to unlock all multiplayer items in the game if you just pay EA, $50 USD as well, which is, yep, that is real. In case you're wondering, Hardline will continue to be able to be played on PC online for its multiplayer and all that, but yeah, the console versions, those are dead. And this is again another reason why Stop Killing Games and that Californian bill are being pushed the way that they are so hard. Because now it's just another dead game added to the pile that you can never play on consoles at least. But that's the problem, isn't it? Like, why are you going to buy a game if it can just disappear one day out of nowhere like Hardline's going to be doing too? There's no preservation there. There's no backup. There's no offline mode. It's just gone now. But this just confirms why this is important, because it means that the access that you're paying for is not ownership. And that's why you're seeing this become a battle of legal grounds, because it has to. Which is why specifically that Californian bill is so important, because it needs to be made clear that if you're not buying the ownership, that needs to be detailed before anybody makes a purchase. So yes, the rules are shifting, thankfully, but it's still not a complete reversal or say a full solution, I do admit that. But it is still a response at least. It's something. It means things are still moving in the right direction. Although personally, I don't think it's enough yet. I do think we need to go as hard as we can possibly go when it comes to this, so that we can ensure that all games that you buy are actually owned by you when you pay the money for it. Because it's actually insane that so many other industries have not, done this model, but when it comes to games, it's just normalized these days, which frankly feels insane to me because it just doesn't work for us. If you pay money for a game, you should have access to it whenever you want to. It shouldn't just be taken away because someone just doesn't think it makes enough money anymore, so now you don't have access to play anymore. That's insane to me. But this is why more games need to do what The Crew 2 has been doing with its hybrid mode. Sure, okay, that's not perfect, but at the very least, it's a recognition of the problem that something is being done about it. And this issue has stayed in the background, as we all know, for way too long. At least now we are forcing a change. It is obvious that what you want versus, the guys in the suits don't really align, but too bad. You watching, buying games, that is what keeps the light on for a lot of these studios, not these guys in the suits. Like, we're not at the end of the story. I understand that. We're not even close, but at least right now, we are at a point where players are at least more aware. The governments are finally being forced to do something, and companies are actually responding to this. So Stop Killing Games hasn't won it all yet, but it doesn't have to in this moment right now, because what is done instead is to do something else that's just as important, if you ask me, which is that this at least changed the conversation finally. Finally, things are getting done. And now that this is becoming mainstream, now it just can't be stopped. Because the future of gaming isn't just about like what we play, it's also about what we're allowed to keep. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for being here. Subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you guys next time.